Hi everyone, this is BlockSolid with Yael Tamar, a podcast about the convergence of real estate and blockchain to help democratize the real estate market, increase access, and provide opportunities for everybody. I'm here today with my friend Mark Noorlander, who is a co-founder of several successful companies, including Unchained, Flashboy's Blockchain Studio, Wizzle, Fiat Gateway, and crypto payment solution. Blockchain is a perfect solution because it creates the best infrastructure for trading, also for transferring assets, for storing assets securely, for connecting different platforms where assets can be sold.
Sustainability for me has a lot to do with being careful with resources, the resources that we have.
When we're opening this market to everybody, for people to come and invest, whether they're on the level of institutions, on the level of credit investors, and in some cases retail investors, we are creating a much more sustainable market, a much more diversified investor. Blockchain applications that help increase trust by, number one, creating milestone investment. Basically, looking at a new enterprise that nobody has heard of, that needs funding to do some amazing things. So we are actually starting to tokenize funds, so private equity funds. And on top of that, we just created a new department dealing with sustainability and impact. So we're looking into opportunities to tokenize green energy projects as well as green bonds, right? So we're about to actually kind of touch upon this subject. It's very, very interesting to me. It's extremely promising based on the growth of the market in the recent years.
To tokenize assets and to trade them is not so difficult. It's the technology is there and we know how to use it. But then make a project out of it which is trustful and where people can, that is where the real challenge is.
Tokenization, guys, is just the beginning. It's the beginning of the new finance. Think about it like a few decades ago, money was not digital. You had to walk into a bank to do all of your transactions, stand in a line, which would not work in the times of COVID. But you had to walk physically into a bank to get a loan. Think about what digital money has done for you and for the business. Now, when we are digitizing assets in that way, we're able to facilitate many, many new applications on top of tokenization, which include trading, collateralization for loans, and indices, benchmarks, all of that, and global transactions that are done outside of the banking system, right? So not talking about outside of regulation. We are fully compliant with any regulation that comes our way, but think about outside the banking system, what that's going to do to the economy. So how do we tokenize and digitize an asset? That's a great question. So right now, the best way to do this is within traditional plain vanilla security. That's the best and legal and compliant way. We are issuing a security. In order to issue a security for an asset, you have to create a company, a special purpose vehicle that owns the asset. Then you can split that company into shares and then sell those shares to investors, or you can actually issue debt, meaning that you will collateralize these shares of that asset and of that company that owns the asset. You issue debt to your investors, which will be entitled to either interest or they will be entitled to interest. And if the interest is not paid, then they are entitled to a portion of the asset, right? So this is how you tokenize the asset in a technical sense. In a philosophical sense, we are receiving a digital representation of an asset that you can now trade, right? So this is an IOU that represents an asset that you can trade to your neighbor or on an exchange. Because when you're dealing with finance and people's money and people's savings, you want to have a certain level of control, but you do want to give a lot of the control over how to invest, what to invest in, when to invest, when to buy, when to sell. All of that is disintermediated because of blockchain. So we're an issuance platform. We help make real estate digital. Then we go and connect this certain project that is now digital or tokenized to one of the exchanges or several exchanges that have the license to trade digital security.
Asking, and it's always about trust. It's not about if they can support, because that is not an issue. It's always about, can I trust this, or am I getting tricked by another project? And I think that is where blockchain can give a lot of transparency, of course, together with regulation, that you can see what is happening on which moment, and if certain milestones are made, that you can that funds will be released based on this.
SolidBlock getting involved in this target linked finance and sustainable finance is number one by tokenizing, helping tokenize bonds. Almost any organization can get involved in creating such a fund, right? If they adhere to standards of the funding, and then partnering with companies that help track financing and help track KPIs. And we know a few companies, and we're talking to them. Every project, that's why we have people and professionals in this area, right? So every project that adheres to a certain standard has a list of KPIs. I think these KPIs could be tied through blockchain to a major data sharing platform, which they exist, by the way. They just need to be used, uniformly and globally, and then we'll be able to have a much better idea of who's providing more impact. Distribution path for that specific project is through our partners that specialize in either affordable housing or in sustainable real estate projects. Now, in terms of our plan, long-term plan for the green bonds and for getting involved in actually sustainable finance as a field, absolutely. We're going to create KPI-driven financing. A few people in this, specifically in this impact and sustainability department that we are establishing, because we believe that number one, it's our responsibility to give back, and also that this is an incredible opportunity for investors as well. And I've seen a lot of hotels, by the way, recently that are implementing sustainability features. And in some cases, like I said, it's sustainability washing because they're kind of required. But on the other hand, because things are getting cheaper and cheaper, and also they have incentives in terms of cost and taxes, this is actually now a favorable thing for developers to do.
2021 would be the year where blockchain would have the highest impact, and I see that happening. I mean, when we started 2016 with trying all these, we call it proof of concept, or not even minimum viable products, but just proof of concepts, trying things out. And at one moment we more or less tested everything. We said there's nothing to test anymore. But now that process was way slower, going to find parties who are really going to push a project into the market, and we are currently seeing that happening. So I'm really enthusiastic about what's going to happen in the upcoming year. So we are getting closer of getting a real impact from technologies that we are working on for several years.
In general, if you're in real estate, we would love to hear from you. If you're interested in investing in real estate, or also in SolidBlock, which is actually now completing a seed round this month. So I'd love to hear from you. This was BlockSolid with Yael Tamar. We will talk about blockchain and real estate and invite fantastic guests. You can find us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, as well as on solidblock.co/podcast.